We're now ready to put the film on top of the high tunnel. So what you're going to do first is get your roll of plastic, go ahead and roll it out next to your high tunnel. Make sure you have nothing on the ground you're rolling over that might poke a hole in it. Any small tree or weed stumps or anything like that. So make sure you have a clear spot of ground, get it rolled out. And then what we're going to do first is we're going to pull the first side up, and we're going to stand underneath the plastic and attach it to our zigzag channel, or you'll be nailing it on if you're going with wood and you're going with nail strips. And we're going to go ahead and attach the whole one side, then we're going to pull the plastic over the building and attach the other side. So I'm going to go ahead and start with that. This plastic, every plastic brand folds a little different. So just go with however yours is folded. Get it kind of started here. Make sure when you roll your plastic out, you have about 2 foot extra on each end. You can get down with a little of a foot or so, but you don't want to be too short, because you don't want to end up going to hook your end walls down and find out you don't have enough plastic. So make sure you're about 2 foot long on the front, roll it down, cut it off about 2 foot long on the back. You just get started like that and then slowly continue. Make sure you have about 1 inch of extra hanging down below where you're connecting it. And then as you can see down here, I've got enough to make sure I can get around these edges. We're done attaching the plastic to the first side of the high tunnel, and now we're going to pull it over and attach it to the other side. Pulling it over is not as hard as you would think. First, you just get yourself a long stretch of rope and a weight, so that way you can throw your rope over the top of your high tunnel. Go ahead and do that. All right, now what we're going to do is you're going to unfold your plastic. You might not want to fold this back and unfold the majority of it, because these folds will kind of hang you up when you go to pull it over. All right, and what we do is it's simple as you take a wad of newspaper. This is paper towels and Barris ends up laying on the bench from working on this. Put it in the corner of your plastic. Make sure you don't put it very far in, because this will stretch around it and it'll make this plastic here have to be torn off, because it won't be any good. Kind of give it a twist so it's a nice ball like that. Take the end of the rope that we just threw over and tie it nice and secure around this ball. And this allows us to be able to pull on this rope to pull the plastic over without it slipping or tearing. It works really well, and so this is what we're going to do. All right, now that's ready to be pulled over from the other side. As you pull this over, you'll need somebody on this side kind of helping the plastic and guiding it along. This whole process, it's best off if you have about 3 to 4 people. It can be done with 2, but it's not going to be very easy. walls is pretty simple. Just go around your door frames and your vents. And even if you have a spot, like I don't have vents ready to go up here yet, but I went ahead and put the channel around. So when I do put the vents in, it's all completely ready. Because it's a lot easier than having to put the channel in later on when you do install your vents. So go ahead and put all that in, and then we're ready to start putting the plastic on the end here. Putting the plastic on the end is pretty much just like over the main part of it. You start by standing underneath your plastic in the same way you did on the sides, and then fasten it along the bottom, and then we'll pick it up and fasten it along the top. And then after the top's fastened, then we do our door frames and our vents. top. And normally, if it's a calm day, you just don't have that problem. You'll get it the first try without any issues at all. But we have a north wind. This is the south side, so the wind was blowing through the high tunnel and wanting to push that plastic out, and it made it really hard to get it as tight and without wrinkles. But this is plenty good, and so as you can see, if it's not quite as tight as you want or there's wrinkles, you can take those wiggle wires out really easy and just tighten it a little. That's a really high point of those over nailing your plastic down on a wood frame. So now that that's done, next we're going to go put up our batten straps, which will go over the top of the high tunnel and help prevent any wind damage you could possibly have. We're pretty much down to what's the last step in building the high tunnel now. And some of you may not even need to do this. If you're in an area that doesn't get windstorms or seldom has wind, then you're probably okay without doing this step. But I still highly recommend it for almost everybody in all locations. I'm in the middle of Kansas. I have few wind breaks. We often have wind over 40 mile an hour sustained just on any given day. That's not even from a storm. With storms, we can get 80 mile an hour wind relatively easily. 65 to 70 is common. And so it's very important that your plastic is not going to be able to get away. And one reason this happens a lot is your plastic will start kind of getting a wave or a ripple going as the wind hits it. And this will stop this from happening. It'll keep it all secure. It keeps your plastic from being able to overinflate too easily. That's where, like, if one door is open and a gust of wind hits, too much air is forced in to the high tunnel that can't get out the other side. It creates a pressure and it'll blow your plastic off. And this will help prevent that. And what we're going to do is we're going to string this over the top. And it's just webbing's what I'm using. This is 100% nylon webbing. I bought this from a seller on eBay. There's lots of sellers and stores that sell this. I just happen to be using his, and he sells military surplus webbing, along with other items, of course. But this is a Type 4, 1.5 wide military surplus webbing. It's a really good material. It seems to last okay, and you'll kind of just, time will tell on how it lasts. It may need replaced in a few years, it's hard to say, but even then it's still worth it. It's not a very expensive thing to do, and it can save you a lot of money in the long run. Now, to put this on, what I do is you can either use a baseball or a rock, or I suggest something softer like a baseball. I'm using actually a lacrosse ball. I had one around, so I'm going to use that. And I drop it in an old sock and then tie a rope to the end of it. And what this does is it allows me to be able to throw it over the high tunnel rather easily, and then somebody on the other side will catch it. I'll tie the webbing to the end of the rope, and then they can pull it on over. Then you attach the webbing on one side with a screw, the other end's attached with a screw, and then it's cut off. And you just repeat this process. We're going to show you how you do it real quick. It's very simple, it's relatively quick, and like I said, this can really save you in a windstorm. I highly recommend it. We're going to do this the same way we did on the second wall on the high tunnel's top plastic. Just throw it over, make sure you have plenty of rope, and you're standing on the one end, so that way it doesn't follow the whole thing over. Try to hold your rope so that way it doesn't tangle on you, which is kind of difficult. It'll tangle up pretty easy on you. And like I said earlier, I'm just using a sock with a lacrosse ball is what I'm using in it. It's soft, it works well, it throws easy. So here we go, just toss it over. Just like that. Now since that's over, if it comes up short and didn't go all the way over your high tunnel, you can kind of just whip your rope like that, and it'll make it slide down the rest of the way till the person on the other side can reach it. Now, I'm just going to go ahead and take the end of my rope, get the webbing here, you don't have to tie anything complicated, just hold them side by side like that. Put them through, and don't pull them real tight because you don't want to make it any harder than you need to pull it over. And now you just pull it on over the other side. Make sure you hold your roll of webbing up vertically so that way it just unreels as it's supposed to, or otherwise it'll want to get twisted really bad. Alright, there you go. And now Now what I'm going to do is untie, and attach down the other end first. Then you can pull this slightly tight, and then we'll cut it and put it down. Let's go ahead and go screw down the other side first. To attach this, I'm just using fender washers with self-drilling screws again. And what I do is, instead of just going straight through the end to hook it, which you can, that might probably be okay, I prefer to go ahead and fold it over like this. And that way I'm going through 2 layers, and it's going to be less out to pull through and unravel if it's folded over. This is just, to me, it's just a little extra security, and it really doesn't take any extra material. You can either measure it or just eyeball it. I eyeball it, go about between the 2 hoops, just below where your plastic's mounted. There we go. And then we just go around and do the same thing to the other side. We cut this just about 10 inches or so long. Just give yourself plenty of tail there to be able to tuck up, the same way we did the other side. Hold it tight, but not ridiculously tight. I just want to be kind of snug across there. All right, and that's it. Just continue this on down the high tunnel. Put one between every hoop, and that should do it. And with the batten straps on the high tunnel, you're now done. It's just a simple process. You just continue as you did the first one. It's really quite easy. It just doesn't take long at all. Now you also notice that we don't have the doors on yet. And the doors are kind of just a preference on what you want to go with. You can either go with like just a zipper door or an actual frame door. I'll be going with frame doors, but I got to build those in the shop. And you can make them out of wood or steel. I generally go with steel. But I just left that up to you. Also, if you bought a greenhouse kit or a high tunnel kit, if they don't come with doors, the company will have them available too. So you might just look into ordering doors from them, and then they're just completely ready to go. Otherwise, we didn't cover the tin on the bottom of this. And the reason is, you can just go with whatever material you want on the bottom of your end walls. Either just the same type of a film material, or you can go with the material like the side curtains are, tin, wood, plastic, a polypropylene, something like that would work really well. So that's also just up to you. And you also notice that I did not cut the bottoms off of my sidewalls. And the reason why is, what I do is I leave the extra tarp that they give you. There's normally a foot or 2 extra. And we just lay that down, and then we just cover it with gravel. And the reason I do that is it keeps down weeds. It's going to last a long time. And then when we go to mow, we can either mow or use a line trimmer right up against the gravel, and we don't have to worry about getting into the curtains or the plastic or anything and actually snagging it with something. So it's a great way to kind of just make your maintenance easier down the road. And then we're going to do the same thing at the end walls here. We'll put down the scrap pieces of tarp and then cover those with gravel as well. And with that, I guess that's about pretty much wraps up this build on this high tunnel. If you have a comment or a question, feel free to ask it. I'll answer everything to the best of my abilities, or I'll try to direct you to someone who would know. If you have a better way to do something, there's really no one way to do anything. And so if you have a tip or something that'd make this easier for somebody else, feel free to send me a message or leave it in the comments. Thank you for watching.